Hey guys, so today we are answering a subscriber question, and the question in question is, Frederick, what will be the one language to rule them all? So let's get into it. Well, this is not a loaded question, not at all. This is, as you probably can imagine, going to be as subjective as it's ever going to get, and there is no definitive answer to this, but I will do my best to give you my perspective on this. So let's start off first and foremost by stating something. I will state that it is impossible to create a single solution that works for absolutely every case. Now, the reason why I will state this is because fundamentally, even if you were to somehow invent a language or enhance a language to the point where it can do absolutely everything, you will still have people who have a slightly different use case, and even if you are able to cover those use cases and the corner cases and all the possible ways that you could do something in programming, you will even at that stage have people who emotionally don't like the language, for everything from not liking the syntax to that, oh, it's too bloated, there's too much going on. This is actually kind of the stuff that Java has as an issue, where, you know, there's tons of reasons not to like Java, or people have a lot of reasons for it, but one of the things that is that, you know, just the fundamental thing that, hey, it's too big, there's too much stuff. Well, yeah, that's kind of what happens when you try to be a one-fit solution for all possible things that you can do in programming. So I don't really think that it's possible to have a single language. But if we want to stretch this definition a little bit and say that, all right, maybe not a language that becomes like the only language anybody uses, but let's talk about a language that is feasible to use for absolutely everything, what I like to call a universal language. So let's think about that. So in my world, there's two buckets to put things in here. So, I mean, if you want to do absolutely anything that is possible, you will have to have a system language of some sort. You will have to have something that makes it feasible to do the absolute most high performance stuff, as well as do application development and higher level stuff of this nature. This is actually, once again, if the system level programming languages we have today, you could accommodate this, we wouldn't have most of the languages we have, but we do, which kind of indicates this thing that I'm going to say, that as of today there is no such language. But if I am to state something that is like the languages that are truly universal at this point, it's probably going to be C#, C++, and Rust, where although Rust is fairly early stage, it's actually one of the reasons why I'm interested in it, is basically because I've spent enough time with it now, and I've seen the frameworks and the stuff that's going on, to be able to say that it has the potential to be a universal language, or at least a language that is so diverse that I can use it for pretty much anything I would want to, from the lowest levels of programming up until like doing web application work and stuff of this nature. And that's not something that all that many people would consider in, say, C or C++, although it is feasible. All right, so that's the one side of it. But if we stretch the definition even further a little bit and say, all right, we just want a language that is going to be, because most people, let's be honest here, most people in programming do not work at the systems level, like it's that low level. There are absolutely people doing it, but most people work in web of some sort. They create a server of some sort. And if we're going to ask that question, or if we're going to talk about web work in specifically, I would say that there's only one contender that is going to be feasible, and that is TypeScript. The reason why I state this is because as long as JavaScript is the language of the browser, you cannot avoid using it. It is not possible for you today to create a production-ready or like production-worthy like modern application without JavaScript. And if that is the case, then by logic, then there is no other language out there that can possibly be the universal language, because none of them are actually, I mean, unless you're going to tell me that Dart or something of this nature is going to be the thing. I mean, you could make a claim for WebAssembly being a compilation target, but we're not there just yet. So TypeScript is probably the thing that is going to be the best bet for that, because the great thing about it is that, all right, it is technically Java. It becomes Java. It compiles down to JavaScript world. It's a superset of JavaScript. You have the option of getting the benefits of a loosely typed language when you want it, in other words, just vanilla JavaScript, and you can add a type system, which is one of the limitations of that language, when you need it. And using Node, for example, on the server and so forth, makes this a very feasible strategy for, from my perspective, there's not that much that can't be done using, there are, of course, limitations, but there's not that much that can't be done using Node and TypeScript at this point. I would even say, personally, if I go out on a limb a little bit, and I would state that when the threading problem gets done or gets fixed, or like the worker thread problem, so that you can do synchronous tasks in a fairly sustainable manner, I don't see much of a reason not to, as to why, say, Java would be superior to TypeScript, as an example. I think that they would be fairly equal in many, many ways. There are a few things that needs to be fixed, but that's going to be my answer. So what I want you to take away from this is that I don't believe that there is such a thing as a universal language. Or a truly superior language. I don't think that it's possible. It goes to everything that is human society to have a solution that every single person is happy with. Even people who are there are going to be emotional reasons at the very least as to why somebody doesn't like something. But the closest languages that I can imagine right now to being truly universal is going to be C, C++, and Rust, for if we're talking about being just able to do absolutely everything. And if we're talking about being able to do proper web work and being able to actually do the sort of stuff that most of the people working in IT is doing today, I'm going to say TypeScript, because it's, as I said, since JavaScript is the language of the browser, you per default need it, and therefore if you're going to have a universal language, it's going to have to be able to do the things that JavaScript is doing, and as long as that's the only language truly supported, your options are fairly limited. But TypeScript is actually, in my opinion, so advanced and pretty great. It's gotten to the point where I don't see why you wouldn't be able to, why you couldn't write really, really serious systems using TypeScript and Node. So have a great day.